I did some additional double check things that I want to explore for myself on this, and I thought I would share those with you, and then I returned to where we were and did some additional things that are probably good and relevant for you to see. I mainly started this, I believe, to try to do something, get something better for this laundry room back here. And it quickly became apparent, even though there is going to be, as you see here, when we swing that back, the garage door entry becomes another 2 feet lower at least. And so it's already a problem there. But it did improve the laundry facility significantly. Even squeezing it down like that is an improvement. But it's so long like that, and so the only alternative was to eliminate those pantry cabinets in the hall. And then you have that long corridor down there to get out that way. But I did like the improvement at the laundry facility. But it does not seem to be doable from a practical standpoint from the land when you swing this. Well, at least I don't think so anyway. If you watch that land, and that's fairly accurate, you could see you would almost need a wall and stairs coming down. This is something close to 3 feet just down this little slope. So that's pretty significant. And whether that's doable, this gets to be a long line here. Another reason besides the laundry facility for me looking at this was because of the simplicity of this. It's going to be a simpler building project to just have these joists come straight across. And we talked about whether all of these joists here are just moved down to here, but this is a very straightforward, simple thing. Not this one, I think. Is this the last? Yeah, that was the latest there. And that's not what I show at the end. I show this in these overviews because it was just ridiculously long, and there didn't seem to be any sensible thing. A person could put a window or two across here, but there didn't seem to be any sensible thing to do there, which is why I reverted to that, which is unacceptable to me from an inside, but this could work for you because it is probably a simpler build, and whether that's worth that better laundry facility, you would have to decide. So it goes from this to that at first, and then this is losing those 2 pantry cabinets and creating that hallway to the rear porch. That's probably about a 32 or 36 inch shift. Whether that path getting longer to the porch is worth the gain from the laundry facility to go from this to that, it is fairly straightforward and simple. This is just a little bit of a long hallway for me. But now when I think about this and think about the issues with the terrain out here and with swinging that down, if the simplicity of that roof structure doesn't drive the project, then it's probably almost surely doable to shift this garage door this way and add 2 feet to that and then push this back and get a more decent laundry facility. I feel like I'll probably come back and show you that briefly. Particularly I kind of like how this wraps like that. I kind of like that as opposed to this. This is fine. Particularly I think some sort of little window has to be in here. It's probably going to be tall like these, just to fake it out, and it'll be very high in the garage just like that one. Something like this, where this is pretty high. You'd be able to see out that window from this stair, but probably not from the floor. So that was the final result of making a straight plan. It's probably doable, but there's the landscape situation over here, and the next little film is silent, but you'll be able to see what I mean, the challenges with swinging that down. This is all very nice, though, I have to say, how this sets up here, how it works out here. leaving that alone in spite of the foundation still showing. There's probably a question on whether once you build all these stairs down here, did you want to add any more finished area? And I don't think we can add that much because I think there's going to be plumbing work possibly traveling across here and somewhat in front of these windows. That might be able to be avoided, but it should be recognized. I do like getting some natural light into here, so I would probably look into trying to see what could be done to preserve both that light and accomplish our plumbing. Returning to our regular plan, the angled one with the south expansion, this should say south addition, not west, which is this portion here. There were some things that definitely needed to be covered if we're going to firm up this plan, and I will try not to make this too headachy to understand. But first of all, if we do this southward expansion and we don't elect to replace truss work through here, then we will need to have at least this column, and it seems to make sense to have two, to provide a beam to carry those trusses that are left here and any of the new framing coming in here. There is the issue of whether that ceiling plane then continues across because of the insulation requirements that are almost surely going to be necessary to be met. And so there's plenty of clearance between those columns, leaving the table out there. It kind of looks dumb having the table centered between the, not dumb, but just it's natural to do that, but it leaves a lot of space down here, and I'm not sure about it in any event, having those columns there. However, if this ceiling is not replaced through here, this framing is not replaced through here, the columns are necessary, and I made a little film for you to see what that's like inside. And the next turnaround really just showing this ceiling extending over, this sloped portion of the ceiling extending over to provide that insulation space with this table pushed out that way. And then a turnaround with the columns eliminated and the required slope ceiling coming across here, and that assumes new trusses at least from this wall to this wall. And I'm not crazy about that either. I'm not very crazy about this little cabinet out here. This might be better if this closet were just expanded with bigger doors and that was dropped. I don't kind of like that presentation out here. But to show a few more things with regard to this ceiling, not to exhaust you with it, the bay window can be eliminated. As I said, I've never been crazy about the interface here. I do like that it gives you this long view down through. The best view is down through this way, but it can be eliminated in favor of something like this. This is a big picture window. I think this is almost 6 foot. These are a couple flanking 30-inch windows here. It solves all the headache of that stairs. It gives you a little more room on the patio, as well as eliminating that expense. But if it's eliminated, you still have plenty of room at that table. People can still walk behind a seated person just about at 44 inches there, and a 60-inch round table. So this is a cut through this with that wall. Whether the bay window's there or not doesn't affect what we're talking about here. This is that dining room ceiling, and I don't really like this, that this slope has to be here, but more in a minute. This is the beam proposed if this column is here to carry the rest of those trusses and any of our new roof load that's going to be bearing down on top of those, presumably. Or that beam can be eliminated, that column can be eliminated, and we could just have the trusses replaced over that dining room area in one piece truss like this, and get rid of the beam and the column. You still have this sloped ceiling, but at least it flows nicely into the kitchen without the interruption of this column. And it gives you a little more latitude with regard to what kind of tabling you use there. The next little move that a person could do is move that wall in some and provide some bearing for new joist members, ceiling joist members through here, to which these could be fastened and borne that way, and then pushing that wall back. Here the roof is shown just coming out, providing this big wide overhang. I did not model that, but this does reduce the footprint by a little, bringing that down to 1231 total, and this happening inside. I'm no crazier about this than I am about a few other things. This really trims the view off this way, just from that window though. But it's still very effective, and at least now there's not so much empty space up in here. This move assumes the elimination of those columns then, to just provide one open space. And looks something like this outside. You'll just have to ignore this little scrap I've got up in here where that wall is shifted back. And this roof starts getting a little more complicated, but you don't see this from the street. This next 3 or 4 is just me trying to create a flattened ceiling in that dining space that is separate from the sloped ceilings out in the kitchen and living space. Because if we try to run a regular truss through here, this is not enough height for us to get that insulation. If we frame that roof stick frame without trusses, it takes 2x8s at the roof and 2x8s across here. And what I've done here is drop these ones down below where that slope is. This gives us plenty of, not super, I mean it's not 10 or 12 inches, but it is enough, about 8.5, to get good insulation here, as well as our member bearing, if that's conventionally framed, that section. If a truss is used over it, we can have the truss come over and have a little ledger here with hangers. This ledger fastened to this bearing wall down to this beam, and the truss is built to accommodate that. And again, decent heel height. And then your finished ceiling through the dining room area only becomes 7'6". The existing ceilings are about, I believe, 7'11". So this is about a 5-inch drop in that area. But maybe it makes sense once the columns are eliminated to get rid of that slope that runs through there. The slope is fine in the other area because it raises up to the cathedral, and it's really fine over the stairwell as well because it's less paid attention to. There's your old trusses just left in place, and the new ones put in here with their new requirements, and those ones probably just nailed to these. There won't be any weight left on these because they'll be stripped off in the event this sort of thing is done. It does require you, though, instead of replacing the trusses from here over, it requires you to pick up these last two as well, so that we can get that whole flat ceiling across here. So inside with this B4, which is the shift back here, this ceiling is all flat at 91. Probably you just flatten this whole hallway out, I would think, just furthest down some, so that all of this becomes 91. And then this all becomes the vaulted ceiling to 10 feet. I think this margin probably should move over to the edge of this, as you see here, where we bring that out like that. And down the hall you can see that raised area. That has the attic access, so you can leave it high like that and kind of conceal that attic access, or put the attic access somewhere else, I don't know where, probably in this bedroom, or you just fur it all the way down. And at that end, I think that looks perfectly legitimate coming across like that. And so here's a quick turnaround with this arrangement then. Eliminating the columns, lowering this whole thing to 91. You got to pick up these two trusses here and either stick frame this or pick up half trusses over to this wall here. But here's the rotation on that. Couple quick changes during the film. Got rid of that cabinet that I didn't particularly care for and changed these doors from two 24-inch doors to two 30-inch doors, and just got rid of that complicated framing there. And this goes to a swing door then from a pocket door. So that changed there. And this window, there's a 2'7" margin here. I increased that to 3 feet. I think that's about as close as we can get to that porch in its existing size. And finally got rid of that last little wall there. We may as well have a wastebasket or anything. Besides that, it's a little goofy here, I confess. But in this, where the camera comes back around, this door is open and you'll get a feel for what this space is here. I kind of like the bigger doors on this here. It brings the door closer to where you're going to need to get it. And remember, as you see in the film, all of these cabinets are only 30 inches high, so we don't have a lot of space out here in terms of food storage. So, and this could be shelved out in a creative way probably. Additionally, I did not mention at the time, and maybe you didn't notice, but this closet lost its double doors and now has, I believe that's a 30-inch door on it. And I'm sorry to drag this out and hopefully not create too much confusion. I already made this change here during the film, but earlier I had endeavored again with this laundry, and I think we did better doing what we did with that door. But before that happened during the film, I took a look at rotating that laundry like this and having it more standardized. And so you ended up with this inside that garage. The roof is a little bit more complicated. But the laundry facility again is nice. You can see here where this is the kitchen here, and the plumbing is going to have to travel across here to get to that stack out to the septic. All of this plumbing is going to have to travel underneath this floor and then across this ceiling. So leaving aside the slight increase in complexity for the roof framing, this is those changes. And you can see your dimensions here, where that goes from 26.8 to 24'5". But the laundry facility becomes quite a bit more usable in this configuration. And knowing also that if you wanted to change to a swing door here and increase the length of that closet, that can be done. I think I did make a final move, squeezing that out in a little bit, somewhere in that range, and then return to this again once I had already squeezed the garage down to the pinch point anyway, to 24'5". I returned to this one again, the simpler framing, the simpler roof framing, and kind of made that a similar to 26'1". We were down to 24'6". So this is a little better this way, a little more usable laundry room in any event. And the same thing applies with regard to this door through here. A nice folding space here. I just have a sink in the countertop, but maybe there's not even a sink in that room. So that was another way, probably a preferable way in terms of its simplicity to that one. And maybe those doors are shifted over. Now this here's the door, the garage door is shifted over a couple feet, 2'9" to be exact. And that can that can shift over whatever number you want. But when we shift it that far, then we change and make the laundry facility more like this. Same thing applying with regard to this door. And I think that's about it for the review on these B plans, that starting with B, that had the big one coming out here with a bay window, and coming down. This is kind of the minimal B plan that I've seen, with the exception of B55 having that, or 54 having that door coming up. And there's some flexibility as well, obviously, to how wide this is and how it situates here, whether this whole system shifts up a little bit, particularly if the garage door moves over that way. But all things to think about. And thanks.